It is cold in the hall.
Feels good.
Yeah, I know. I love this weather.
Feels good.
Okay, you're good to go.
I have to get my glasses on first. Hold, please.
I didn't see this.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting
Oh, yeah.
of the Internal Audit Committee meeting, special meeting of October 31st. We're all set with the quorum, Mr.
Yes.
Myrtle. So I'd like to call it to order. We don't have any minutes from previous meetings?
No, they're there.
There.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, sorry. Okay, do I have any public comments relative to agenda items? Anyone from on the phone? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the meetings, meeting minutes of April 4th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I don't know who had the second.
Gardo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gardeau. Any comments, corrections, debate? Wonderful. Can we have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are approved. At this time, I'd like to hand it over just to Chris Stone for just a second to explain the next agenda item.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Stone, District Council. We received a request from Attorney Sullivan. This was an FOI request for certain documents relating to the Sandler Mara PC invoice matter. And some of the documents, we've received some documents just, I think it was last week, from Attorney McHale in response to that. Not that request specifically, but our request of him to produce documents that were responsive to that request. And we have those documents, and there are, I know John's been through them thoroughly. I've looked at them briefly, and there are some documents within that, what's been transmitted to us, that implicate the attorney-client privilege and the attorney work product privilege. And so we thought that it would be, rather than guess as to what this committee might do, would be the proper prudent course would be to bring it to the committee, have you consider whether you want to waive the privilege or not. And if you were to waive it, then those documents would be disclosed to the world. And if not, they would not. But that's the reason why it's on the agenda. I had talked to the chairwoman yesterday, and was asked the question, and I paraphrase, and
Please.
Chairman, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but was basically, well, why don't we just distribute the documents and then we'll see if we can waive it. And the problem with distributing the documents publicly in advance would be that would be a public disclosure of a documents which we're requesting that you waive. Quite frankly, we're asking you to waive the conflict. So this, so we're clear, as my position, John's position as the clerk, my position as district counsel is that you should waive the privilege and move on and disclose, and so be it. But that being said, in order to consider it, we're suggesting that you go into executive session so that that privilege can be maintained until such time as you take that action, if you were to take that action to disclose.
Thank you. Attorney Stone, sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Commissioner.
I have a question, and my question is whether or not this is the appropriate venue to hear this issue.
If I might, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Taylor.
And the reason that I'm raising that is that the report was passed on to the board, and the board accepted it. And as far as my thinking is concerned, that once that happened, that matter is now within the jurisdiction of the board. And it is the board that is the appropriate body that should be making that decision. I don't see how you can say that you can refer the matter to the board accepts it, and now all of a sudden the Internal Audit Committee retains jurisdiction over this issue. I think either it all goes to the board or it doesn't. And that sort of defies at least my thinking in terms of what happens essentially when you pass a matter on to essentially a higher body.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Could you please respond
Sure.
to that, Attorney Stone?
Sure, if I might, thank you, Madam Chair, and Chris Stone, District Council, and thank you, Commissioner Taylor, for bringing that point up. Just, not that it makes a difference, but what the board did was acknowledge receipt of the report. They didn't actually accept the report, but that being said, it remains, the audit committee was the client. The audit committee retains I'll say the privileges and responsibilities of being a client. It's been asked of the council for the audit committee to release certain documents. The audit committee has the right to either waive that privilege or not, and that's why it's here. Just because the completed report was passed on to the board in which they received it, doesn't mean that the audit committee has relieved of all its responsibilities here. So that's why it's here. It should stay here. They should act, and once they act, the board does not have to act. The board was not the client, it was the audit committee, and believe you can move on, one way or the other.
Well,
Commissioner Taylor, would you like to speak, Commissioner
My
Taylor?
question basically, how can we say that was this firm retained by the MDC, or was it retained by the audit committee?
It was, if I might, Madam Chair?
Of course, Attorney.
It's a not uncommon situation where the audit committee within the bylaws has the obligation, opportunity, responsibility to investigate. They have the right to retain outside experts in the conduct of that investigation. They did that. They have a certain amount of authority of expenditure, up to $5,000 to do that. They needed more money to do that. They did the right thing and went to the district board seeking approval of those monies, and the board approved the monies. It's just because the board, and I've heard this before, just because the board paid the money, or the MDC, I should say, as an organization through the board, paid the fees, doesn't make the board the client. It's not unlike if, just recently an issue came up where there's been speculation that either me or Mr. Jellison might get sued. If that were the case, we were acting within the scope of our authority at the MDC. We would retain counsel. The MDC would pay for the counsel, but the counsel would be our counsel, not the MDC's counsel. It's not unlike that. It's not unlike a parent paying for a legal fee on behalf of a child, which some of us may have personal knowledge of, but that happens. And if that were to happen, the parent pays the fee, the child's the client. And that's what happened here. So I really think that, and while the points made are well taken, and I'm sure made in good faith, I think it's incumbent upon this board, this committee, to act, and quite frankly, to move this thing along so we can get, at least what we will recommend, get this thing off the snide and get the documents to the requestor.
Commissioner Taylor, did that answer your question?
No, it doesn't. I'm not satisfied, and I reserve the right to raise this before the board.
That's your prerogative. Okay, before we move on to the next step, Mr. Stone, could you just go through for us really quickly what in this memo, the 13 points, could you just tell me what ones are already public information, just so we know?
John, you can probably do
Yeah, would you mind just so we know what ones out of the 13 things that have been requested? And by the way, just for everyone's knowledge and for the record, this is an FOI request on behalf of Commissioner Salemi to produce these 13 items as it relates to the internal audit committee's work over the past year.
This is John Myrtle, District Clerk. A lot of these requests were actually in requests from Attorney Bart Halloran back in April of this year. And I think one may have been, and then 6.
I'm sorry, these are things that are already public information, you're
So
saying?
we received Bart Halloran's requests and provided the documents to him, and then also provided those all to all commissioners.
Okay.
And so number 1 I think number 3 may have been in a prior request, but nothing had been provided because the district did not have any records. Number 6, copy of legal opinions on recusal and authority. Those have been provided to all commissioners and publicly released. 7 through 9, the district did not have any records. Number 10 is a prior request that has been provided to all commissioners. Number 11 was in Attorney Halloran's, excuse me, Attorney Halloran's request that, excuse me, that has all been provided. Number 12 was also, and that has been provided.
If I might, John, just so we're clear, when you say it's been provided, it was provided some time ago or provided?
Back in April.
Okay, and will be provided again?
Those have been provided to,
To
Attorney
attorney,
Sullivan.
oh, okay, oh, they already have, okay, thank you.
And I'm assuming the copy of the, I'm sorry, this
Those
is
have been-
Chairman. Yes,
Those have been sent to Attorney Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming, this is Chairman Mandyke. Mr. Myrtle, I would assume that the copy of the Board of Finance, or at least the recording, has been sent.
There is no
Mr. Sullivan?
transcript. I believe I may have said,
Sent
I
the
don't think,
recording?
no, the audio hasn't been provided, but it certainly can.
Is there a cost to the district to provide audio? No, okay. So we're really not, it's still public information.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so at this point in time, procedurally, I think that we need to review these documents, and make the decision in executive, session, since that's the way that we've handled it. So moved by Commissioner Curry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, the reason, just so we're clear on the record,
Why do we have
the
to-
reason, if I might, no, that's okay. Chris Stone, District Council, this is to review documents that are, that implicate the attorney-client privilege, attorney work product. That's the reason you're going to executive session, because there is a privilege there that you need to waive. And to go into open session to discuss the same thing would in fact constitute a waiver. So we just need to formalize that. It's the opinion of District Council through John Myrtle's office as the FOI officer that that is a proper reason to go into executive session. That's the basis for it. If I might
Sure,
also
sure,
indicate
Attorney Stone.
who should be present. Certainly as the FOI officer, John Myrtle, myself as District Counsel, Commissioners Gardeau, Payne, Hoffman, Mandyke, Lewis, and Curry. And that's it.
I can't stand in executive session?
No.
Why?
Number one, you recused yourself. Number two, as
No,
a
no,
matter
no,
of course.
I
You asked me a
Excuse me, if you
question.
could
No, I
please go
did not
through the,
recuse
excuse
myself.
me, Commissioner Taylor, if you could please go
asked
through
me a
the chair, I'd greatly appreciate it.
I would like to answer, then you can respond. You recused yourself from consideration of this matter. You haven't sat in any deliberations of this matter as evidence of your recusal. And unlike most committees where we allow other members of the committee to participate, this is more of a quasi-administrative investigative body. You haven't allowed before, and I don't think, unless Madam Chair tells me otherwise, that you intend to do so here.
So if I could ask the other commissioners that were not mentioned, and staff to leave, we will call everybody back into place once we are done with executive session.
And I don't go far, because it won't be.
Hopefully, it's not gonna be long.
And,
Yes, Commissioner Huffman.
Madam Chair, just asking a question, I guess, to the clerk through you. There is no other commissioner on the telephone.
All the commissioners are present, so we're gonna mute the WebEx.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about
Just a question, clarify.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks for the clarification, Commissioner Huffman.
Julie, you got that door? And the curtain, thanks.
Thank you. We've now come out of executive session. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Do I need a motion to call back into order?
motion to come out of executive session.
Yep, move it.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Curry. Thank you, Commissioner Payne. Commissioner Curry, do you have a motion for the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move we approve the waiver of attorney-client privilege as presented to us with the following revision, that in the third paragraph, further resolved. At the end of the last sentence, after McHale, we put a period and delete the rest of that sentence.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Payne. Is there any discussion? Questions? Debate? All those in favor of the resolution with the changes from Commissioner Curry that he just mentioned? All those saying, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. I'd like to know if there's any commissioner requests for future agenda items? Does the Internal Audit Committee want to look at anything as it pertains to anything? Okay. That sounds good. Do we have any general public comments? Thank you very much. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. And thank you for the second, Commissioner Gardeau. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? I'm like, I gotta get her one. I got